But tell me, just what is it that you want to do?
Well, we want to be free. We want to be free to do what we want to do. We want to be free to ride. And we want to be free to ride our machines without being hassled by the man. And we want to get loaded. And we want to have a good time.
Hello and welcome to the 6 Plus Show, a podcast for your wargaming and 40k needs. Hobby talk, tactics, tournament reports, lore and much more. We have it all. Please welcome your host for the evening, Tom.
Welcome, ladies, gentlemen and synapse creatures to 6 Plus. It's a podcast. It's going to be about wargaming. It's going to be mainly 40k focused, but we will dabble. And it's going to be brought to you by the wonderful gentlemen of the Plus. I'm your host, Tom. I've been trusted with this venture by our dear leader, Chris, who is also here. Say hello, Chris.
Hello, Chris.
Very nice. Chris makes everything happen.
Yeah.
Also here is Lee. Say hello, Lee.
Hello, Lee. So I've done it again. I've just
No.
stolen your joke.
Yeah,
and I'm not even mad. I would do it again.
Precedent set now. Just gonna copy each other's jokes the whole way through. So this is episode 1. This is not going to be especially focused. We're going to be giving you a sense of what we're going to be talking about in coming episodes. We're going to then talk through our goals for the year. We're going to dive into a little bit of lore, talk tactics very briefly as well. Before chatting a little bit about the kinds of other content out there that we've been listening to.
Is it a brief look at tactics because that's all we know about?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
100%.
Because if we're going to try and do that every time we do this, we really have to be very stingy with what we know. It's going to be very important not to just give that all away up front. We can save just go first for episode 7, I reckon. Just sort of
it is the main one.
Yeah, it's by far the most important one.
Yeah.
Broadly speaking, we know we're going to be talking hobby tips, individual progress. We're going to be talking about events that we've gone to, events that we're planning to go to. We'll talk competitive tactics and talk about the meta if we can face it occasionally as well, depending what state it's in at a given time. And we'll try and connect up and talk about and shed light on all the other wonderful 40k based stuff out there that we're enjoying and that we're getting into as well. But before we talk about goals and the new year ahead of us, what have you guys been up to? Chris, what have you been doing?
Working. And more working. I do enjoy working. No. In terms of 40k, I have been reading my Custodes book. I say reading, I mean more sort of listening to podcasts and reading reviews of the Custodes because that's how we like to get all our information.
Nice.
But no, it's been enlightening because if you go back 2 weeks ago and everyone was saying this was a terrible codex, and all of a sudden it's the greatest thing ever, incredibly broken, and it's going to win the LVO. So how
amazing.
wrong was the Adeptus Custodes Facebook group? Who knew?
It was such a joyous thing to be part of, though. Just watching it, just all the hopes and expectations just absolutely collapse, and then everybody looking around at each other was like, "Which one of you said was bad?" And everyone was like, pointing fingers at each other.
It's someone else.
I always thought it'd be good.
I don't have a clue what Custodes do. I've never understood them. I think I've only played them once. So you'll have to at some point you have to take us through what makes them so broken that everyone wants to run them.
I look forward to it. Yeah, they're looking good. So I've been painting some Dreadnoughts and
very
some
nice.
Sagittarum.
Very, very cool.
I've been working on. So hopefully they'll be done. I've got a practice game. Although when this comes out, I might have already had the practice game against New Tau.
It's New Tau.
New Tau.
Spicy. That codex is around. Nice. How about Lee? What have you been doing, man?
So I've been doing the classic thing that I think most hobbyists do, which is scatter around lots and lots of different things without really any focus. So as you know, I've been playing my Thousand Suns, and I decided to add a strange edition of a Leviathan Dreadnought to that. So I've been building and painting that over the last couple of days. But really
Very
what's
nice.
taken up most of my focus is starting a completely new army, which again, you'll hear me say a lot of times. Probably in this episode, it might happen several times. But I've been working on my Black Templars. So these were an army that I had when I was a kid. It was my first army. So when the new box came out, you know what, to be honest with you, more than anything else, it was just the artwork, the John Blanche artwork.
Yeah.
I was like, I need to get back into that. So
that's super cool.
Painting them as a bit of a labour of love. Obviously had a little game with you the other day to sort of try them out, and that was a lot of fun.
We had what I would describe as a knock around. It was fun.
That's fair. It was almost like Sabutio for 40k, wasn't it?
Yeah, we both turned up, and I think we were both just sort of like, let's just not try and turn it on. Let's just run some guys around. Let's fight each other. Just hit some stuff. Try not to get too carried away with it. It was good. It was really, really fun.
So yeah, that's been the main stuff really, and then sort of just dabbling in audiobooks here, reading some Sigmar stuff there,
nice.
And just sort of staying on top of things.
Nice, wonderful. Yeah, I mean, like Chris, I also have a new codex that I've been very excited about. But I'm on the other train, the true calling, the Xenos train, the correct place to be. And it's all Gene Stealer cults from here on out until I go 0 and 5 with them, and then I cry, and then I go back to something more scary.
Where's that Jakari book again?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh no, yeah, I've changed my mind. They're absolutely fine now. I've been magnetizing vehicles. I've got some Goliath rock grinders down here that now have big fat magnets on the bottom, and I've been trying to slightly. I've always been quite guilty of running out of care when it comes to actual storage and travel. People will know that
I have seen how you transport the army.
Famously, the giant blue IKEA bag with boxes of models in it.
That literally had a Tantalus in it as well.
Did you take that on the tube all the way through London as well? Yeah,
I did. Yeah, and there comes a time when you have to. Well, it depends. Either I could have put up with the abuse I was getting for those methods of travel for the rest of my life, or I could get on board. And so I'm trying to improve my storage.
It's funny, isn't it? Because I mean, I don't know what a 2k army costs. Probably about £2,000. But then you're like, well, I'm absolutely refusing to protect that in any way. I don't care. And then I've spoken to Chris about it before. Like, you turn up to an event and everything's smashed to pieces, even if you put it in foam, and it's just like, why did I do all that? And all of a sudden, you spend all that time painting a model, and then it breaks. Like, okay, fine, whatever.
Yeah,
absolutely. It's such a strange thing.
Absolutely right. And certainly because it's been Jakari, I've been ferrying around for the last year. There's a little bit that just looks at a broken Jakari piece and goes, "You deserve this. You deserve this. You deserve to have your sail broken off. You horrible, horrible transport."
Yeah.
Awesome. Right. Okay. Well, I think we should crack on and get into our main segment for the day, which is goals for the year. What is it that you want to do? And we're going to do this in a couple of ways. We're going to let Chris open up and talk about where the Plus, the wonderful channel that is 6++ is currently at, and what his goals for that this year are as our director and architect and mastermind. And then we'll talk a little bit about what it is we're hoping to get out of 40k and playing this game and talking about this game for the next year and what it is we're hoping for in 2022. So, Chris, by all means, take it away.
The business.
So yeah, the channel's obviously been going on for like a year and a quarter or something now. Started off in the house, just a couple of dreamers, Lee and I, sort of thinking, you know what we need to do? We need to show our faces more to everyone. And how can we do that? Well, 40k seemed to be the idea. So yeah, we kind of just filmed that fateful first bat rep with Custodes versus Thousand Suns, which was a really great game.
Still one of our most popular, I think.
I think it could be. And yeah, kind of just decided to fully invest myself in video editing and all that sort of thing. I was doing a bit for my school at the time as well. And we got quite a nice lot of feedback from that. And then we kind of just pushed on there. You know, we've always been tournament players. We like to think and talk about the game a lot. And it kind of seemed like an opportunity where we could share our thoughts and feelings. We felt we had a winning formula to an extent on what made a good bat rep. Because, there are obviously so many out there, but if we ourselves are, like always taking on board that content, we know what we like, we can try and work out how to do it better. For lack of a better word. So that was kind of the goal. Plus, I think it's quite nice to share your expertise with, well, not necessarily expertise, but share your thoughts and opinions with other people, especially like the more beginning players. That's something we've really pushed recently. I'm a teacher, Tom, you're a lecturer. I teach children how to colour in the lines. You get to teach proper grown-ups. But, it is our trade. Lee's very good at speaking
He's a
about
very
the
well-spoken
very
young
little he
man.
knows.
Yeah.
So it's kind of nice to kind of share that with people, and that's actually been something we have received a lot of feedback on. Has been sort of like that. I'm beginning, and there's actually not as much stuff out there as you would think for the beginning players, which tackles those who are trying to maybe raise their game from beginners to intermediate or something. That's not actually too much out there, so that's kind of, we're hitting that niche at the moment. Plus, I think we do a pretty good bat rep. You
do.
And if you're listening to this and you've not yet watched one, 6++ Gaming on YouTube, off you go. Or on the Facebook page or Instagram, that sort of thing. We're all over. And the goal has always been like the kind of the competitive lists and explaining why, like kind of why are we doing this, why are we doing that? Because I know when I watch a bat rep, quite often that's the sort of thing I want to pick up, because it helps me understand the armies better, and that's why I'm watching those battle reports. So that's kind of, it's been progressing over the last year. Obviously, trying to put out content during lockdown was quite tricky. We started playing with ourselves on camera, which was quite fun. And that got some nice feedback, as you'd expect. And then after lockdown ended, we've managed to get back into tournaments and all that sort of thing. And we're now here in 2022, and Art of War have kind of hashtagged world domination so far for themselves, but we're going to try and catch them up. We're doing all right in the tournament scene. We're getting content out, almost weekly now. Bat reps hopefully will come more and more. Obviously, we're in like kind of the mid-tournament season at the moment. We did set out a couple of goals for ourselves at the start of the year. We wanted to hit 1K subscribers on Insta, so we're just sharing a lot of work in progress stuff most days. And then on top of that, we wanted to try and hit 3K subs by the end of this year, and we're hoping we grow exponentially with that. But we can keep putting out the sort of the content that people are enjoying. We've got a load of different ideas which you'll hear about here on the podcast as and when they happen. I think we're onto a good one, to be honest.
Yeah, very, very nice. Very, very nice. And we've got a few sort of additional plans, don't we? We're going to dip a toe into Age of Sigmar in the near future. We're going to talk about that in some detail in the future, but the behind the scenes fantasy creatures are being assembled and stuff is in the works. And we're going to bring Crusade to the channel as well quite soon. We have our we've been waiting for this latest glut of books to come out, but now that we have sort of Custodes, Tau, Gene Stealers, various other potential protagonists for our story, we're going to be kicking that off as well, so that should be really fun. So it's just keeping on branching out and doing more things and getting involved in even more ways of playing and talking about the game, isn't it, really?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the thing. Like some people say, you should just focus very specifically on one area, but I think we're just trying to appeal to as wider sort of audience as possible, really, and get everyone involved.
Whilst we're not doing it at the expense of doing other content. It's here's more of hopefully something you already like, and here's just more of it. Yeah. And if you don't like it, well, here's more of it anyway.
It will still be here whether you watch it or not.
Yes.
No, very nice. I think it's very exciting. It's been nice to watch forward progress. It's been very nice to start trying to get involved myself in recent times as well. And it's certainly felt like at events in recent times we've been out there doing well and achieving some results and playing some games and meeting people, and that's been great.
Absolutely.
After being stuck inside, unable to actually play the game for so long.
Got to make the most of it now.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. All right. Well, let's move and think a little bit about sort of personal goals and personal ambitions for the year. Then, Lee, what do you want to get out of 40K and out of your involvement with the Plus this coming year?
I think first and foremost, what I enjoy about sort of being part of the channel and everything else is as Chris said, is sort of having having a presence and sort of being able to sort of participate in the community a little bit more.
Yeah.
When I was recently at the Leicester City GT, two random people came up to me and sort of said, "Oh, I know you," but couldn't quite place me. But as soon as I told them that, "Oh yeah, I've seen your video, I enjoyed this one, I enjoyed that one," and that's just really nice. So I'd like to sort of continue to embrace the community, because that's something that I think that whilst there's a lot of content creators out there, I do think that we have such a thirst as a collective for more 40k content. There's
absolutely
it's nowhere near satiated yet. So
no.
In terms of a channel goal, I guess that's the one for me, is just to sort of keep building that up and hopefully trying to get more of a dialogue as well with people who enjoy the content. In terms of my own personal, I guess, connection with Warhammer and 40k specifically, it's just really about sort of getting back to trying to remember to have a bit more fun with the game. I think sometimes, and I'm as guilty as anybody, is getting so wrapped up in what sort of the competitive scene is, what the meta is. And even though I would sort of not like to put myself in the category of trying to chase the meta, I do find myself guilty of doing it. And then sometimes I need to take a step back and realize, I am here and I'm meant to be having fun. And I think you can take it too seriously. And whilst definitely. I generally don't feel like I overstepped that mark, I internalize a lot of it, and I spend a lot more effort thinking about it than I probably should, and not in the right way, because I love the lore and I love the game. I love thinking about the strategy of it, but it can become a bit compulsive. So just to try and have a bit more fun with it, really, I think is the main thing, and maybe to actually, finish a couple of the projects I've got on the burner. If you went to, I'm not in there now, but if I do a tour of the hobby room sometime, you'd see sort of I have completed Black Templars army, and 90% Thousand Suns army, and 90% Black Legion army, and 90% Chaos Demons army. Same with Death Guard, and it's just all these unfinished things. So I'd like to become more of a completed finisher.
That's an interesting one. That though, I do sometimes think the point is never to get there, though, right? Isn't it? Isn't that one of the things?
That kind of is. I can't imagine.
No, because that's kind of it with the thing I love about it is that there's always another hill. There's always another thing. Sure which is cool. But I know what you mean about if you've set out to actually get the whole rounded project, to actually be like, that is done, and it's done to a standard I like, and I'm happy with it.
That's the problem, is that what I'll do is I'll do 90% of it, and I will get the remaining 10% done, but it won't be at the same standard as the rest, so I'll just push it over the line at the end. So the basing won't be finished, or sort of the edge highlighting won't be done very well, or maybe not even at all.
Edge highlighting,
which is what I'm really pushing myself on with those Black Templars. That really nice, consistent.
Oh, they do look great. They're very good,
clean finish, which I think will look great, and I can't wait to bring them to the channel as well.
Yes, they're going to be a big part of our crusade. Looking forward to it. Who else to crusade than the guys that are always doing it?
You said protagonist earlier, and I thought really, well, everyone else I think is an antagonist. I think probably the only protagonist in a crusade is
they're the real goodies. Nice. And Chris, in terms of personal goals, obviously you talk channel. What are you yourself looking to get out of the game, and what are your objectives for this year?
Yeah, I was saying to Lee the other day, I haven't particularly been happy with how I've been playing recently. Sort of barring the odd game, it's just felt like a bit messy and that sort of thing. I'm not practicing anywhere near as much. So what I would like to do is leave events feeling like I've played to the best of my ability.
Yeah.
So in terms of how I can achieve that, I think it's just a bit more preparation. Obviously, sometimes it's nice to turn up to an event with a completely randomly generated admech list and see how it goes.
How does that go?
It's fun.
And how does letting the community vote on what army you're going to take go as well? Is it?
Yeah, that's also going well. I'm not liking this role I've just suddenly taken on board. But no, just to kind of build that, and I'm actually planning on doing something for the challenge, like a Road to the LGT series, where any bat reps I do with a competitive list, which I'm thinking of taking, or like doing videos on analysing the missions and the terrain setups and those sorts of things. I think that's what I want to do. Like, went to Leicester a few weeks ago, and it's just like, if I'd actually sat there with the terrain, you can quite easily work out how you will deploy your army in each of the missions. Can you just imagine going into a match going, well, I know that this is my game plan, and these units are going to go here, and if they've got this, then obviously that may change depending on your opponent, but actually having that setup. And here in the UK with the Warhammer tournaments, like kind of just so structured in how all the terrain is going to be all the time, like having that sort of preparation in place, I think, go a long way. So that's kind of it. I just want to focus a bit more on like kind of the playing. At the moment, a lot of my games are just bat reps, and when you're filming a bat rep, you're obviously not entirely focused on the actual play and that sort of thing. So for me, it's just trying to be happier with the way I'm playing, and the way I'm going to do that is just by trying to prepare a bit more and just get more reps in. Just sit here, get the terrain out, get the models out, build the armies, those sorts of ways, and see if that has a bit more of a positive impact, really.
Nice. So you've pretty much summed up the duality of 40k man there, haven't you? Because we've got Lee on one side wants to kind of unwind a little bit. You on the other side, I'm gonna get this. I'm gonna polish up. I'm gonna do a montage and smash it and take some names.
Absolutely.
But it's both completely valid approaches, and I think it's an interesting thing, isn't it? That relationship to events where it's so easy to accidentally set yourself up to have a hard time sometimes. Like if you just decide you want to take a Tantalus, or you decide you're going to take some, whatever, make some little decision, and then end up frustrated with yourself because actually
you get there and you're like, why did I take it?
Oh no, I've got to use this for 6 games now. What am I going to do?
I have one more goal is to try and play Chris at every single tournament we go to.
Oh yeah, that's very important.
We're 3 for 3 at the moment.
3 for the last 3 as well. So not
exactly.
Every single event you match into each other.
So we had Thousand Suns versus Admech twice, and Thousand Suns versus Custodes. Who knows what's next?
One thing I was going to ask you actually, Chris, was is it Custodes that have your attention for events, or where are you at in your thinking in terms of your army?
It's a really hard one because obviously, for those who don't know, I've been playing Admech since I started collecting them at the end of 2020, and then so the army was fully formed for when the codex dropped. Obviously the codex was then quite spicy, and
yes it was.
And it's had a bit of a fall from grace recently, and now no one really wants to play them. When I was playing them at their full peak, it still wasn't the most enjoyable army. It was kind of, I'm going to move forward, I'm going to shoot you, and I'm going to delete you, and that was kind of it. Didn't quite have the nuance. My all-time favorite army was my Necron flying gun line in 8th edition. And that was fun. I have enjoyed playing the Custodes. So we'll see. I think for the near future, it will be either Custodes or Admech. And then I've started painting up some Harleys. I've obviously got Grey Knights as well.
Oh yeah, nice.
And we'll kind of see how those kind of go. So no, I haven't actually made a decision. We've got a team tournament coming up in Feb, and then I've got Beachhead Brawl just before that.
Me too. That's exciting. That's gonna be good.
Yeah, absolutely. So for there, I'll go to Beachhead Brawl, taking the list I'm taking to the team tournament. So that'll be either Admech or Custodes. We're just discussing as a team at the moment what each person's going to take.
Nice.
Obviously, you're going with Twisted Dice, aren't you?
I am going with Twisted Dice. My beloved local heroes, Twisted Dice. I will be there. So don't tell me anything about what you're taking, or I might use it against you. Because I'm a treacherous little rat. Treacherous little rat, me. You got to watch out.
That'll be great fun. I do. I know we've said it before. The Twisted guys are right near where sort of Tom and I are based.
Lovely.
They're part of some great events, and there's some really top guys. So
Twisted, what we were at recently,
I'm unhappy that you're not representing us. That's not because no slight to them. It's just because obviously we would love to have you as part of our team. But
absolutely.
You could have dropped me and you could have played.
Yeah, exactly. I'm willing to lose my own place for Mr. Super Major.
I'm hoping we don't match into you because that'll feel like a lot of pressure to do well in a situation.
Well, me and Chris are used to that now because we had that weird internal.
We're just so used to it.
Yeah, so used to it.
Just post a sad selfie on Facebook.
I've never played someone like that I went to an event with. Not like people I actually know that I've gone to an event with. I've never actually ended up matching into anyone at any point. I've played people.
That's because you're always sort of fourth out of 400 players.
like once, mate. Just the once,
but forevermore.
Yeah, forevermore, forever. I mean, for my goal, I think definitely. I sort of see in both of what you're saying things I want to achieve. I do want to keep having fun with it. And I took Harlequins and Craft Rods to Twisted Walk, which we went to a while back, and had an absolute blast playing that because it kind of I really like playing something where you feel like you can get creative with it and you feel like it's a bit unusual, and that's quite enjoyable. So my hope is, and we'll see, my hope is that Gene the Cult slide under the radar enough that I can do some interesting stuff with that without there being a million tryhards on my army like I've had with Drakari for the last 2 years, which has been fairly
That
miserable.
is a big thing for me. That was a big thing with the AdMech. It was like, everyone's playing AdMech, and now it would be, everyone's playing Custodes, because there are a lot of Custodes players out there. I've been playing them since their codex came out in 8th. I had, have all the bikes, have all the Terminators, have everything. So lots of people do, though, and you could definitely see it happening that over the next couple of months, there's going to be like,
there's so many.
30% Custodes at each event.
That's just so cheap
easy
to buy,
start.
really,
That's
compared
like
to
100, 200 quid, you've got an army.
I think that's the thing, isn't it? It's the buy-in and the hobby buy-in as well in terms of time with Custodes is relatively manageable.
Retributor armor, isn't it?
Yeah.
Bosh.
Yeah. So that's why you've got to play an army where you need to paint literally hundreds of tiny pink lads, and then you'll be fine. You'll be all right. That's
180 racks.
Or 180 racks. Yeah, exactly. The new hotness. That's one of my big. We're going to talk about hopes for 22. What my big hope is that they kill Drakari stone cold dead about halfway through this year, and then I can finally have that book back. Like, I think it's just time to just take it outside, shoot it, have done. Put it down, so it's just everything's so expensive you can only field like 30 witches and then you just blow over and you die, whatever. I don't mind. I think it'd be nice to have that back, have that book.
Well, how are you going to come and do that? You've got Craftworks.
We know, they're gonna come in and do a reign of terror. Oh, it's going to be awful. It's going to be tough. It's going to be very tough. Those new models are amazing, though.
Yes, I like the new warlocks they put out.
Oh, so
really
cool!
Nice.
I would, if a foot warlock conclave ends up being good, I'll be delighted, because that is such a cool thing. Like, it's such a cool thing, and it is utter trash at the moment. I have tried it a couple of times, and it just doesn't work on any level. So it'd be interesting. Yeah. But I want to get better at painting as well. Actually, that's something I've been trying to do. I'm not a painter. A lot of the guys in 6++ are very talented. You all paint very nicely. And a brief shout out to Ben as well, who's obviously not here, but is a very talented painter whose stuff we get up on the Instagram all the time. So I am making some steps to try and get a bit better at that side of things myself as well, because that's really enjoyable. And that, again, it's a bit like what we were saying about how you get enjoyment out of it and fun out of it. I think that connection to your army, the time and the effort and the energy, that's something that's not actually about how good it is or how good you're doing with it, right? That's kind of, this is my thing that I've made and I'm going to take it to an event in a blue IKEA bag.
I feel that when I mean, in my work, and I guess it's so for you guys, I don't produce anything.
No, exactly.
So for me, sort of having a painted army is something it's almost primal to sort of say, I've delivered something. Here's this thing that I made, even though, you don't make the plastic or whatever. But you contribute enough to it and you have an output. And I don't think there's that many things in life that you can get that out of.
No, it's a kind of this. We could get quite deep here, because from a sort of sociological perspective, a sort of Durkheimian perspective, you could say that one of the issues we have in our modern age is exactly that. We are disconnected from the fruit of our labour. We don't ever hold the things we make, whereas with 40k it's like, would you like to literally have it, and then you can put it on a table and someone can kill it immediately as well.
Painted model curse is real.
Yeah. So, but I think that's. I mean, we can do a separate podcast on this another day about what's the sort of mental and psychological appeal of it. Why is it so compelling? I do think that connectedness is there's something in that. That's really nice. Cool. All right. Well, let's talk about hopes and expectations for 40k in general. We've alluded to a couple of books we're already very scared about, but what are you? I mean, let's start with you, Lee. What are you hoping for from 40k this year?
Yeah, I mean,
more broadly, where do you want the game to go?
Where we're at right now is really interesting, because as we speak, the new chapter approved is just about to come out. So I think what I'm really hoping for is an enjoyable new set of missions. So I've read through them. They certainly seem more interesting. I think that the game really needed that. The missions have been sort of solved. The secondaries have been sort of solved. And adding the extra dimension of the new sort of primary element. Along with tweaking the secondaries as well, I think it will actually be a new puzzle to solve, and that will be quite satisfying. And what I'm hoping that will achieve at the same time is those armies that we sort of have either dominated until now, or we expect to dominate in the coming weeks and months, that the missions themselves will actually play a factor in that as well. So yes, they might be able to turn it up to 11, as Chris said with the admech, come forward and delete you, but that might not be enough. And that's kind of what I'm hoping for, is that armies that play the mission differently will still have a chance if their book isn't quite as good.
Yeah.
So what I guess in a roundabout way is what I'm trying to say is that I'm hoping for a more balanced 40k. But I think that we won't get that from any number of codex releases.
No. So you think the missions are where that might happen?
It's where it could happen, and again, pessimistically, I don't imagine it will. But at least we can have some fun trying to do it.
Yes.
And then secondly, it would just be a case of all those poor armies that have been struggling on with their 8th edition book for so long is to actually get their 9th book, because you've got to feel for the Guard players and the Demons players, and I want to see Chaos Space Marines get 2 wounds.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, 2 wounds. 2 wounds.
We all want to see them have 2 wounds.
So yeah, I mean that's for me what I'd like out of this year. It seems achievable.
It's in reach. I think those last books are definitely in reach. I think we're in the end game with that now, which is good. How about you, Chris? What do you want to see?
Yeah, I think it's just quite simply balance, isn't it? We've been in a state for a while where, well, just a few months ago, you rocked up and you knew that you'd probably, if you got anywhere near the top tables, you'd be up against Drukhari and Admech.
Yeah.
Admech are now gone. Drukhari is still there. Looks like Custodians are coming. Who knows what Tower will be like? You've got the Eldari coming. So once that kind of dust settles, you want it just to be in a balanced place where you can take most armies, and you feel like, because when Space Marines 2.0 came out in 8th and were just obliterating everyone, it was just like, well, this isn't fun. You don't want to play games and you know where you can just lose turn 1, turn 2. You know, competitive 40k is pretty cutthroat as it is. It's it's stressful enough experience. You don't want to be like, oh, cool, another 2 turns, that's fun, and that's what Admech were doing with all the planes and that sort of thing. So. And that's the rod for their own back. You know, they've made the game super killy now.
Yes.
Obviously, the Warhammer tournaments guys, they're just adding more and more terrain to the battlefield. And then it'll be interesting to see what the breaking point for that is before then just pure combat is the only way to go. Or if they've managed to keep up a nice balance as the missions change and that sort of thing. So yeah, that's obviously the goal. Whether we ever achieve it, who knows? But that would be quite a nice thing, really. You know, just to go to a tournament and be thinking, whatever I play against, I've got a shot.
Yeah, I think that's a good goal, and I think at the very least the wheel needs to turn, doesn't it? I think we've still got, as I say, it's Drukhari who are the only ones still scrabbling around up there from earlier on in the year. Feels like with things like NIDs and Orcs, but there's various other things out there now that can hit
it's
well.
Better.
It is
in the
better.
last sort of 2 or 3 months with the Crusher Stampede, with Orcs sort of, I know they've been toned down a little bit, but they're still there.
They're still great. I really like Orcs.
Grey Knights as well, still there for now. We'll see how the new changes affect them, but it doesn't feel as one-dimensional as it did.
No, there's a lot of good lists now rather than just 2.
Yes. Yeah, but ideally we see that continue to level out, armies being brought further back in and new books coming out that can fit in amongst that, I guess. And we'll see. It's an interesting one. It's going to be very interesting to see where Tau and Eldar sit amongst that. Things like Guard as well could be all sorts of nuts when they arrive. Who knows? It's a lot of tanks to get right the first time.
Well, Lumen Rust, mate. 2+ save.
Yeah.
Sorted.
I think that's pretty much how I'm feeling about it as well. I think it'd be nice to see 9th as it was intended for a bit. I think would be cool. It'd be nice to get that sense of here are all the parts. This is what was supposed to happen, because it won't have escaped anyone's notice that we have had all of this delivered at a much, much slower rate than things had been coming out before, and we would have had all of this probably, who knows, months and months and months ago. We'd have had every book, right, and it would have been a completely different game potentially with all of those parts all out there at the same time. So it'd be nice to see how all those different pieces fit together, whether you get that kind of sort of interesting combos of matchups that make actually getting all the way through an event with any one army really interesting and really difficult depending on what you hit, and that'll give some semblance of balance to it. And just more and more games and events and content as well. And Crusade, as I say, Crusade was one of my big moments of last year, was getting stuck into that, because it is actually a really good rule set. It's a lot of fun. Crusade missions are very fun. And it's one of the contexts in which smaller points games are really fun. So I think getting more 6++ guys playing that is definitely one of my goals as well.
It's nice to just completely change how you're viewing the game as well, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Just really be focusing on that narrative, because that's, at the end of the day, that's what appeals to a lot of us. We're not playing this game because it's an uber competitive, well-balanced game. We're playing this because we really like the lore, and you can kind of forget that when you're trying to tool your army up to the most efficient way of killing the opponent.
Yeah.
And actually, like the games you have where you really don't care about the result and you're just trying to get your cool character to get in combat with something else and see what happens and create that narrative.
Exactly.
A lot of us play computer games and we like our RPGs and those sorts of things. And sometimes it's easy to forget that kind of thing, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think a bit more space for fun in casual games, definitely, in amongst it. And whoa, Chris doesn't like casual. You won't hear it. You won't hear it. Not on this show.
No, it's not a thing.
Right. Okay. I think that's probably it for our goals and expectations. So we'll take a brief pause, and then we're going to come back and have a little bit of a lore chat. I'm going to talk about a unit and a character from the book behind me that I'm still very much in love with, and we'll chat Kelermorph. So see you in a moment.
I fought the lore, and the lore won.
Right, welcome back, people, and welcome to our lore segment. I fought the lore, and the lore won. And over here we have this little fella.
Before we move on, I have to just call out that was incredible.
You're talking about like completely unrelated, and Tom was I've actually thought of a segment title, by the way. And
I think that was a mic drop moment. So if you want, we can just wrap it up.
I like it. No, it's good.
And thank you for joining.
I like it. My brain was trying to do something with Lorgar, couldn't do it. It was like, nah, we'll stick in the song title pun area.
I loved it. Good. I absolutely love it.
So we're going to talk about this little man, this little guy, the Kelermorph. What do you know about this guy, Lee?
I know that he looks like a space cowboy.
Yeah, and that's the interesting thing, right?
And that's about it.
So you've got in and amongst the Gene Stealer Cults book, which is overwhelmingly a book of angry workers who have armed themselves and are in some state of the way to turning into Gene Stealers themselves as well across different generations. You have, for some reason, a little cowboy gunslinger guy. So I thought, for this lore segment, I'd do a little bit of research into the Kelermorph and exactly how he's justified in the lore and explained. Because he's a very distinct little model with his little gunslinger pose and his little sort of bandito sort of mask going on. And it turns out that the Kelermorph is a sort of third generation product, that one of the different sort of special types of life forms that the cult produces as it's getting towards sort of launching its attempt to take over a planet. Because as you'll all know, that Gene Stealer cults are sort of trying to sort of lay the groundwork for the Tyranid invasion that's just about to happen on a particular planet. Yeah. So when the day of ascension comes, they all rise up and try and sabotage as much of the planet as they possibly can. The reason he looks like a cowboy is because he is deliberately bioengineered to resemble figures of mythos and legend from the culture of whatever planet he is evolving on. He's supposed to appeal to and resonate with popular culture on that planet in order to mobilize people and galvanize people and get them excited to rise up. So he sort of takes on a sort of Zorro type appearance, because the sort of the hive mind has worked out that that's what it needs to get people
across
excited.
the universe.
How many planets are there where cowboys are popular?
Yeah, so it's a cowboy everywhere. Okay, that's fine. Well, I think you can argue that there's just one particular version of him, and obviously there's going to be other different ones where he's going to look like Henry Cavill on some planets, probably.
Yeah,
he's going to, it'll be different ones for different people. He'll look like Kanye West on some planets. Whatever it is, that gets people.
You described Earth 3 times, to be honest.
My imagination's failed me. I'm all used up after I fought the lore and the lore won. To be honest, I'm done. But I thought that was quite fun, and I like that.
That is really interesting.
I like how they tried to spin having a cowboy Gene Stealer, basically.
It makes me wonder what comes first. A really cool model.
The model comes first.
And
absolutely.
How on earth are we going to justify this?
Yeah, but it's fun. No, I like the idea of they're going to need their folk figure, their cult icon, and so we need someone who looks like a suitably dashing figure to lead the army.
So my question is that if you look at Kelermorph or any of the Gene Stealer cult,
yep,
for more than half a second, they're quite clearly not humans.
Yes.
So is the cape and revolvers enough to get past that?
It's a very good question. He will need his hood up all the time, won't he? I think if he's doing business.
And the extra arms are a bit of a giveaway.
Yeah, the extra arms are definitely a giveaway. And I think the way they've always explained this is that the people that the cult recruit amongst on planets are literally the ignored and marginalized and sort of put upon people, right? The people that never get paid any attention at the best of times. And they're often from like hives, Necromunda style, where actually having an extra arm not actually that unusual, unfortunately, because of the way the state people are treated and the conditions that people in the sort of the underbelly of the Imperium have to live. But it is fair to say, if you were that governor, you'd be like, I should have seen that coming.
You kick yourself.
There were signs. It was when everyone started getting that little bump thing. If I should have phoned it in then, and I didn't do it.
It's on me, guys. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you got to hold your hands up and say that was bad governorship.
That's interesting though, and what I love about the lore and gene cell cults are a really good example of it, which is how terrible life is for the regular people. So we're seeing battlefields with like Marines coming into Custodes and dreadnoughts flying around and doing all this crazy stuff, but the grim reality is people. I know we've described Jesus the cult there, but the reason they fit in amongst that society is because that's how terrible it is.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You've got that grimy, downtrodden. Living in pollution so thick you can't see 6 inches in front of your face, like that would be there. And I think that some armies are really good at sort of looking shiny and look how great it is, like Custodes, and the cult and guard to an extent are much more like in the trenches. This is the grim reality of life here.
Yeah, I think which
is great.
Definitely the main reason I've picked GSC up is that kind of the sort of it's sort of the sort of ground level rubbish lives of ordinary people, but also still Xenos, which is fun because I like that about Guard, but I don't think I'd want to play it really. I think I find Guard a bit one dimensional.
As you've read, and I feel I already know the answer to this. As you read the GSC book more widely, can you feel sympathetic? Is it written that way or not at all?
I think
this has come from someone who's got no idea about GSC, so it really is an open question.
You absolutely can. I think because I think it's that insanity of devotion and worship and cult, which to be honest I think is one of the great running themes of 40k more generally, right? That I think they
love the zealotry of it all.
The zealotry and the way they engage with belief. That's one of the things I love about the Horus Heresy books. I think they do that super well. That kind of all the mad things people are willing to believe and all the energy that gets poured into sort of cult type worship and all that stuff. I think the thing that saddens me with Gene Stealer cult is that they're all going to get eaten, and then that's them. That's when they win. If they win, they get eaten.
Poetic ending. Though,
I know, but it's not great as a narrative player. It's not great because you're like, I'm going to get really attached to this Primus, and then if I win, I know he's been eaten, so I have to start over with another one because you can't keep justifying why they've lost, but they're still around, and then they come and try again.
That's true.
But I think it's one of those stories and one of those factions where, as you say, you remember what the sort of bleak face of the politics of this whole thing actually is. It's just what all the great books and sort of lore in the various novels and stuff. There's always a few bits in every one that cover the sort of day-to-day lives of ordinary people on like Baal or something, and you're like, oh my word, I'm very glad I don't live on Baal.
I'm upset if my washing machine doesn't work.
Right, well, that will be, I thought, the lore and the lore one for today. But we'll be back with other kinds of little mini dives on various things. So we're going to move over to Chris's tactical segment.
Just the tip.
Okay, guys. So this is a segment we have imaginatively called Just the Tip. And each week each session I'm going to talk about something different tactically in the game. Now, obviously, it's quite hard for a podcast to show things on the tabletop. That's what we use the videos for. But there are so many different topics out there which you can definitely cover and talk about. To link to this kind of goal setting episode, I've wanted to talk about goal setting at events. So there's this phrase, which is, of course, you want to focus on processes and not outcomes. We've all been there. We're all going to an event. Oh yeah, I'd love to go 3-2. Like every 40k player has, I'm sure, said that at some point. 3-2s, love to go 3-2. To go to an event and get 3-2 is just dependent on such a wide variety of things. You think about matchups. You think about going into bad or really strong opponents or whatever. There's so many factors out there which can just mean that you don't go 3-2. You end up going 4-1, 5-0, but potentially more likely a 2-3 or even like a 1-4, simply because of things outside of your control. So it's like when you play any sort of sport, you don't want to say, let's try and win this game, or we're going to try and score this amount of goals. Well, no, what you want to be doing is focusing on the processes which are going to help you achieve those outcomes in the long run. So basically my tip is, next time you go to an event, don't set yourself a goal of 3-2 or for whatever you want. Set yourself a goal of things you're going to try and achieve in your games. So I've written some down here for you. So for example, you might go to a game or an event and think, I really want to just focus on my deployment. So, for example, you might go, I remember years and years ago when I tried playing GSC, I drew my many moons ago, I drew my deployment on a sheet of paper, and I went into that event, and each time I double checked I had certain synergies based kind of like around. So these days, if I was to go with my custodies, I might be like, right, I'm going to have my banner in these things, and I've got to make sure these units are in that area. And that's something I'm going to make sure I do every single game. Or maybe the order in which I deploy. So being an AdMech player who used to use planes, it's quite easy to start deploying and then suddenly be like, my planes, oh no, where do they go? So I very quickly had to teach myself, no, planes go down first, and depending on matchup would depend on where they would go. So just that could be a focus. Another big thing I think is players get so caught up in the kind of the primary game. Obviously about to change to 4, 8, 12, but it's always been 5, 10, 15, and it's so easy to go, can I get my 15? Can I get my Well, actually, no, you just need to get 10s and you're going to get your 40. You don't need to push the boat out and do anything risky, which can change the rest of the game. So
I'm
might
very bad at this, very bad at this. Yeah, I'm always trying to get all the points all the time, and it's terrible. It's
exactly.
a bad habit.
Like priority targets, when it was an objective you could choose, you might be like, I've got this move where I can knock them off their priority target and I could score 5 for this turn.
Yeah, I do that.
Yeah. But you're going to score the same amount of points than if you just score your 3 for holding your own.
No benefit. I'm like, there's a 2-point swing, 3-point swing because they won't get theirs. How do I get there and survive their entire turn in this deployment zone? I've come up with this crazy rationale at the start of the game. It says, if I spend 2 CP to forward deploy, then I can move forward, then I can cast a psychic power, and then I can spend another CP to get to get right in their zone and maybe like do an action or to do a psychic action, and then I can charge them. And I'm like, what on earth am I thinking? There's absolutely no way.
So you're just kind of like reining it in, really. So that could be a thing that you could focus on each time, reminding. Or you could just create a little checklist. I actually did a video about this ages ago. But if you have this, it can literally be a written down checklist. Each time at the start of your turn, right, what are your secondaries? Are you then, how can you, is there any primary you can knock your opponent off of? I could knock them off that objective. But they're still scoring 10. Okay, well then, in which case it's not worth massively factoring that into the strategy if there are other things. Can you deny any of their secondaries? How are you going to score yours? If you just checklist that at the start of each turn, that will have the knock-on effect that you are more likely to do well in those games. And the more you practice those particular skills, the more they'll become second nature. That's the same with anything, like with my AdMech. I remember when I first started trying to play AdMech, and you'd be like, I need all these cards because I've got all these buffs to put on. And after you've played a load of games with them, you just know where the buffs go, and you just whack down the wad of cards and say to the opponent, well, they're there if you want to look at them, and my army can now do this, but I know what I'm doing because I've done it enough. So that's really it. Like, try and pick specific processes to try and achieve at an event, and then you will see that in the long run that will definitely have much more of an impact than leaving an event and going, I went 2 and 3 and I didn't go 3 and 2. Like it happens. You can't take each event in a particular vacuum. At Leicester, I was 3 and 1 going into the final game, and I played against Harlequins, or like mixed Harlequins Eldari. I was like, 4-1. It's coming for me. 4-1. Yes, I've got this. And my first turn, he went first. He made a couple of mistakes. He left the middle of the board wide open. It was pretty much just like there for the taking. I'll wipe out the middle of the board. I'll move into it. Job done, game over. And just dice happened. It all went wrong. And I lost that game quite comfortably in the end. And it'd be so easy to kind of be like super frustrated, but it happens. I know those sort of opportunities will come up again in the future. Just try and focus on those processes rather than the outcomes. And that is just my tip.
Lee, do you want to come in on that? What do you think of Chris's tip?
I've never seen better. It's an impressive tip.
It is a good tip, that, isn't it?
And I think I just want to circle it back because I'm so self-indulgent that I have to the point that I was making earlier about trying to have more fun playing 40k. I think when you set an expectation, and Chris sort of very eloquently put it there, when you say I'm going to get 4 and 1, or that's my goal, and it doesn't happen, it hurts.
Absolutely.
But what you've done is you set yourself something very unrealistic to happen. Whereas if you can come away from that game, I mean, maybe if you'd followed your process better, you might have won it, Chris. Who knows?
Horrible.
But if you can come away with it and sort of say, you know what, I didn't win the game. That's fine. I went 2 and 3, whatever. But I got my positioning right. I followed my process to get my secondaries. I deployed sensibly. The one that I'm always really guilty of, and I'm trying a lot more to avoid doing it, is where I want my with my Thousand Suns put my Umbellific Crystal on the complete wrong side of the board to where it needs to be later. And I'm like, I can just teleport later, but the reality is that the operations of the game doesn't allow you to do that. So every time I get that right, I'm like, okay, well, that's something I've done right, and you're learning. If you can remember those, and you can go away and you can sort of say, I've learned that, or I've reinforced that process, then you can be happy with that progress still.
And I think the process focused angle is really good, right? Because you're building, you kind of alluded to it, you're building a sort of game muscle memory, aren't you? That's really what you're doing. You're sort of setting those foundations for your understanding, and it's worth saying that every time you change up what you're taking or change up what your army is, change it, and the game changes too, you get a little bit further back on that scale, right? So it's forward progress can take a lot of time and a lot of work and a lot of reps. And if you put your expectations in what you can control, which is working to improve those things, as you say, then you're not going to be upset because you'll hopefully always be able to do those things. You'll always be able to sort of sharpen those things up.
Focus on things you're in control of. Yeah,
because as you say, the matchups and the player skill and the missions, all these different combinations are well out of your hands a lot of the time, and you have to respond to how you're dealt. I do think with events, especially, and the new players will find this, events more than any other setting put you in situations you've never been in before. And I think in 40k, most of the time when you're in a situation you've not been in before, your chances of getting it right are quite low. and you learn. And sometimes you'll have people, someone will bring their new army for the first time and they'll play against someone who's been playing theirs for like 6 weeks and they'll lose. I'm like, of course you lost. Of course you lost. What the hell were you thinking was going to happen? You're learning. It's new. It's all, that muscle memory isn't there yet. So you've gone in with the wrong expectation. The only expectation you can realistically have is you're going to learn what this army you're playing against does, and you're going to learn how to use yours better. And that's a realistic bedrock for your ability.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No, that's really good. That's a good tip. Nice tip.
Impressive
You're
tip.
welcome.
Solid tip.
Give me a tip anytime.
Right. Okay. And that's, I think that's pretty much going to bring us to the end of the tactics section. So we're going to do a little brief roundup, and then we'll say our goodbyes. So over to the what we've been listening to section. Okay, guys, welcome to our goodbye segment. We're going to talk through a little bit about stuff we've been listening to in the wider world of Warhammer and 40k. Every week we're going to try and cover different bases with this. So we'll be talking about it from like a lore perspective, books we've been enjoying, etc. But we'll also talk about really good competitive content and places you guys can go and look to continue that never-ending journey of improving and understanding and enjoying this game more and more. And give some shout-outs to people and places that we think do good work, because there's so many of them out there. So I'm going to go first, and I'm going to give a little shout-out to the Night Lords series by Aaron Densky Bowden. specifically the first book, Soul Hunter, which I've been listening to on audio recently. It's really, I think I find with a lot of 40k lore books, the killer thing is managing to keep you absolutely gripped and invested in all the characters the whole way through, because they're these massive books. You cover this massive universe. It can be quite hard to keep that thread all the way through a book where you're like, I'm really, really interested in what's going to happen next to all these people. And I think the Soul Hunter book does it so well. You've got this warband of Night Lords guys who are all really interesting and messed up in their own typically very chaos way. But you've also got, the kind of human acolytes and lackeys running around who are all really interesting. And I think it helps that the audiobook has all these sort of quite deep Slavic accents as well, because that's really it's really dramatic. I hadn't really thought of the Night Lords in a sort of Russian kind of way before, but actually it kind of makes sense. It kind of gives that kind of sort of that drama to them. And as a Chaos faction I didn't know much about, but knew I was very keen to start painting and hopefully start collecting in more depth when the Chaos book comes out in a little while. It's a really good series and really very gripping and very interesting. So that's my shout out, Soul Hunter. Go and have a listen.
Nice. Lee?
Yeah, so similarly to Tom, I've also been enjoying an audiobook lately. So the one that I've been listening to is the Black Templars The Hell's Reach book.
Nice.
Which is fantastic. And what I love to do is typically if I'm painting something, I like to have relevant content to listen to of the same that I can associate together, so that when I'm painting something, you've kind of got that mind's eye in the book of how it might be. And I don't want to give anything away about what sort of happens in the book. I'm probably only about, halfway through. But the process that you see the Templars go through, and the logical thinking that they have and illogical thinking that they have around what it means to have honor, what it means to sort of have responsibility and how to live up to that. And to be honest, to completely miss the mark in so many ways and fail at that almost in its entirety in the face of an impossible challenge is really cool. And then I love they love all the relics and everything like that, and you hear how they look after them and how that they sort of sanctify them and everything like that, and it's just great fun. Like I say, content that is all about what I'm doing at the same time. I love that. So I'm looking for more suggestions for Black Templars audiobooks. So if you guys have any, or if anybody out there has any, then do let me know.
Is there anything better lore-wise than the sort of deeply flawed personalities of all the different Space Marines? It's so good. Like they're all just so like, oh, nearly, but no, not really.
Like this one, there's just such a level of hubris as well. There's this. Well, I couldn't possibly be doing it wrong. I could never be wrong like this. And then you realise, oh, that's a head scratch moment later. Not playing that one back.
So good. How about you, Chris?
So I have I listen to a lot of podcasts, I read a lot of articles. I just wanted to start off with a really simple one this week, actually, because if you haven't heard of Goonhammer, what is going on?
Have you been?
Where have you been?
But they do so it's just a website, but they
just
do
a website.
Just a website.
Derogatory if I've ever heard it.
But they do a weekly article called Competitive Innovations, and they talk through all the big events, all the lists, what's going on with the lists, and why they're successful. And it's a really interesting read. For anyone who wants to go to tournaments, it helps you to kind of know what sort of lists are out there at the moment. It helps you to maybe understand the lists a bit better. You can kind of get ideas for what's working with your armies at the moment. Maybe what the meta is in like the UK compared to the US, compared to Australia or whatever. It's always a good read. We have featured.
Yeah, we've been up in there. We have been up in there. Oh, they were very nice about me last time. They were good. It was good. I enjoyed that.
Drakari good stuff.
No, they didn't just write Drakari good stuff, because I had some long range shooting and they thought that was interesting. Although they correctly predicted me getting rolled over by all melee orcs, but that was fine. That was absolutely correct. No, they're great, and they're great guys. And Liam, we've members of our team have played into Liam from Goonhammer, and Liam showed them the true power of the shock prow. So I'll always be very grateful. always be very grateful to Liam for that demonstration.
That one time.
Once though, doesn't it?
It's got to happen at least once.
If you hadn't been like right on the table next to us, I think I probably would have never mentioned it.
It's because I saw it happen. Yeah,
game-changing shot crowd.
Fantastic, absolutely fantastic. But no, they're a bunch of guys that really care about and love the game, and it really shows in their work.
They do great content.
So much effort, and actually written content's really good. I think it's nice to have a bit of written content
on my lunch break.
Yeah.
Can I just? I don't know how they do it. How much content they put out?
Oh, it's so much, isn't it?
Every day there's a significant number of articles.
I think they've got quite a large team, but they do work hard. Certainly, James, who does most of the competitive innovation stuff, that's a lot of work every week.
It does that so quickly as well.
Yeah, so quickly.
It's out on Monday and Tuesday, isn't it, normally?
Yeah, really, really quick. So no,
even the hot take stuff.
They're brilliant. And for those starting new armies as well, the start competing series for all the different things are all really good. And they're nice because they'll sort of orient you a bit. You don't have to take everything they're suggesting, but you'll get a sense of the basics.
You know where to look in the book for it.
You can really get a sense of how a particular army is going to play, and that whatever the army, however weird and wonderful it is, there will be something on there these days. So there's a big library of stuff. One day our 101 series will be just as good and just as diverse. Or Lee will at least have done his second video for Thousand Stone.
Let's call him out right here.
Gene Cena Cult series is next. I'm excited.
I've written it.
I know you've written it. Yeah, you've written it. You've got to get it out there, man.
No, I could just stay at this computer.
You could do it.
Say it.
You could just do it. Maybe that's the pledge. You got time. It's just not that late. You can do it.
I really do need to.
And on that note, that note of optimism and possibility, we will leave you, the listening audience, to enjoy the rest of your day. But thanks for tuning in. This is just the beginning. We've got all sorts of stuff ahead. Long live the Plus, and we will see you all next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Cheers, guys.